Why is it that something as precious as water can be mistreated so badly? At times we decide to mistreat it, waste it, pollute it, and then dump it right back into our system as if there's going to be no consequences. My name is Robert Bridger, and today I'll be covering with you guys the environmental concern of water pollution. I have a few graphs right here. I'm going to send those around. You guys can feel free to look at them. Ask me any questions about them at the end of this if you want to. So again, I'm going to talk to you guys today about water pollution. The three major causes of that, or not so much causes, but the three pieces I'll be covering are going to be the point sources, the non-point sources, and specifically the non-point source of agricultural. Credibility, I'm taking a few classes in environmental science, also with biology. The classes by no means make me an expert in the field, but it gives me enough insight just to know the basics, and that's all I'm going to be covering with you today. I'm not going to go into any sort of great detail, so if you want further knowledge, you can look up yourself or get with a local professor or anybody else asking more questions about this. For the point source of water pollution, one example of that is going to be if you've ever seen a pipe or sludge or anything else like that being pushed directly from point A to point B, which is going to be the water source. Pipe that drops off gray water into a local stream or river. That's going to be one source. Point sources are easier to control. The reason why they're easy to control is that the federal government actually has a lot of regulations regarding how much, when, where, how, all those things are going to be dumped into those waters. Our nation is lucky since we do have a lot of those that make sure that what is dumped into rivers and lakes, yes, it may be dirty, yes, it may still pollute, but it pollutes only to a certain amount. There are some nations which do not do that. Point sources are easier to regulate and monitor, as I just mentioned, but because of that, that's why point sources cause a lot less of the pollution to our rivers and lakes than do non-point sources. Alright, now that I've covered the basics for point sources, we're going to move straight into non-point sources. Can anybody guess what a non-point source is? Runoff. Runoff, as Corporal Tato over there has mentioned so motivatedly. Runoff is the biggest reason why non-point sources pollute so heavily. Runoff is caused by, the rain when it falls down after you clear crop an area. The rain pushes all the sediments into the rivers, turns the rivers to a muddy brown looking color. That is one direct cause of runoff. Another one is after it rains on a farmland. The farmland, it pushes off to a local stream, anything else like that. The pesticides now got pushed into those rivers, which now pollute the waters, which now can harm the wildlife there, or also just our drinking water. They're very difficult to monitor, as I mentioned before, mainly because they're so indirect. There is no direct way for me to tell exactly how much your car is leaking oil, or when you pull into your driveway, next time it rains, where that water specifically is going to go, how long it takes to get there. It's too many factors for everyone to individually look at that. They are the primary water polluters, so from here I want to transition from point sources and non-point sources, which we've already covered, over to the non-point source of specifically agriculture. Alright, farmers, homeowners, governments, they all use pesticides. These pesticides are the #1 cause of all water pollution. In fact, $400 million each year is spent treating groundwater in the Midwest for only one specific pollution, or one specific pesticide, and that's Altranes. Fertilizers are going to be the #2 source of water pollution. So again, the #2 source is going to be fertilizers. One example of this is going to be the dead zone. Alright, people call dead zones areas where the deltas push out into the oceans or gulfs. These areas are so depleted from oxygen because of the fertilizers that are used that all the fish there die, the life dies. So any port that was once there that used to rely heavily on fishing is pretty much now depleted completely. If not, they have to travel hundreds of miles sometimes, even further, just to find any life in the water. In conclusion, what we've covered so far is going to be the point sources, we've covered the non-point sources, and we've specifically talked a little bit about agricultural causes. I just want to talk a little about one reason why this is so important is because just as water is so important to us, you got to think of any other resource also being important to us. For Easter Island, it was their woods. At one point in time, a nation was actually there, not so much a nation, but a people, culture, that actually built giant statues that we really don't know a whole lot about, primarily because what we have noticed is that all the trees on the entire island are gone. That's what they used to use to fish, that's what they used to use to pretty much do everything with. So once all the trees were gone, their food sources drop, war breaks out, people start dying, and what's left is just a few people living in caves. I'm going to leave you guys with something that Benjamin Franklin once said. When the well's dry, we will know the worth of water.